Hi, and welcome to What's the Story? I'm Mark,
And I'm Michael.
and this is our podcast. We need to come up with a better thing to say than this is our podcast.
I mean, you seem to be the one opening it, so it's kind of on you.
Yeah, whose fault is that?
Yours. Because you're opening. I'm
Yeah,
not opening.
Alright, whatever. So, welcome. What are we covering this week?
Well, this week, I think we're discussing your topic right now would be poaching.
Poaching. And the poaching, not industry, the poaching...
Community?
That's too, passive, I think. That's too accepting of
Just
poaching.
The activity of poaching.
The recreational activity of poaching.
Yeah, so poaching. Whatever way you want to put it, we're going to talk about.
Maybe we're going into it a little more lighthearted than we should. I mean, it gets pretty heavy.
It's so fucked up, the pictures that you see about poaching.
Yeah, researching it was definitely
I actually really like researching this topic just because it was, none of it was good.
I mean, yeah, it was all really gruesome stuff, but I mean that's the reality of it.
I mean, true enough.
So poaching. I picked this topic. It's I don't know. I think kind of after maybe the steel industry, I kind of wanted to see the inner workings of how it, how the poaching system works, all the crime syndicates and stuff. But I kind of got the feeling that the world at large doesn't know a whole lot about the poaching game, so to speak.
How so?
Well, they said that the poaching industry...
They said industry.
I don't know. I'm just gravitating back towards that word
Okay.
over and over again. But they said that poaching globally makes anywhere from 70 billion to 213 billion.
No, yeah,
And that's a huge margin of error, I think. Bigger than it would be if they had a firmer grasp on...
Well, it's illegal. It's hard to really, get a poll of, okay, so how much did you make this
They're
year?
not exactly filing it on their taxes or anything.
No, but I didn't write it down in my notes, but I think I saw it was, third, but definitely the top 5 of the illegal trades, one of the most lucrative illegal, dealings, next to drugs and human trafficking. Then
I was going to say
poaching.
Human trafficking is probably the top, no?
I think it's either drugs or human trafficking. I'm not sure.
I mean, I'm sure those are the top above poaching, but I'm not...
No, yeah.
I don't know.
It's really lucrative. I mean, the main reason that people get into it is the money.
Yeah. But the thing about it, though, is that these... poaching, because it makes so much money, like I said, up to... And that's not even, set. It could be more. But... They're estimating between 70 billion and 213 billion. That's a lot of fucking money.
No, yeah.
That's almost a third of a trillion. It's a fourth of a trillion.
Yeah.
My math was off. But because it's so much money, it very dramatically impacts legally operating businesses and tourism just around the world. Right? It's really a big problem. I feel like here we don't get it very much because who's going to poach something here?
I mean, there's still I don't know if it's such a big issue, and especially compared to places like Africa and stuff, but there's still poaching issues that we need to deal with here in America. A lot of them actually having to do with fish and things and just endangered animals like that.
Yeah, I thought it was weird because when you say poaching, you don't think fish, but fish is
I mean, it's any illegal hunting or capturing of an animal, be it, the way that you think of it in Africa where a whole bunch of people in a car, or setting up a trap for a rhino or something like that, or it could just be someone taking a protected fish and capturing and breeding it or capturing it for its eggs.
Yeah, that's true. I thought also that we should make the distinction that poaching is not hunting.
Right.
Hunting, when it's in set guidelines and rules and criteria, it is perfectly legal.
And beyond legal, like, I don't have a problem with it. I'm not sure about you.
I mean, I'm kind of on the fence about it. Like, I think that because it's regulated and controlled and it's kind of a population issue, in a lot of places, like, I think it's fine. I think that, it's, well, look, I don't want to get into a deep moral conversation about hunting.
No, like,
But
yeah.
I don't have a huge problem with it. Like, there are definitely worse things that people could be doing, I lost my train of thought.
I mean, poaching.
Yeah, so poaching is not the same thing as hunting. Poaching is specifically the illegal hunting and killing and trading and trafficking of those illegal animals and animal parts.
Yes.
And I don't know about you, but reading animal parts throughout this was kind of unsettling for me.
That part didn't really do it for me, just because I had heard a lot of it before. The thing that
I mean, like, we all know about poaching and stuff, and
the thing that got me is some of the stupid reasons why animals are poached.
yeah, I'm right there with you. But I mean, I think we'll get into that in a little bit. So back to like the money of it all. There were so many times in doing this research where I was like, whoa, I'm in the wrong line of work. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I don't want to be a poacher exactly, but it's a ridiculous amount of money that's just floating around out there.
Well, I mean, I think it's safe to say that all poachers aren't, millionaires or anything like that, or they're doing especially
Actually,
well
a lot
for
of
themselves.
poachers are just people on the ground doing the actual killing.
Yeah.
Like, poaching specifically is just the act of going out and killing these animals, Mm-hmm. But the trade of it and the trafficking of it, it's kind of different. Like, it's definitely related and associated, but it's a whole separate legal thing,
Right, but I was going to say that in Africa, where poaching is most rampant, that the key motive for poaching is lack of employment opportunities and lack of employment and just general poverty in the area. It's not like you say it's a, very lucrative industry, but it's not that everyone in this industry is like, oh, we're in it for the money, we're doing it because we're evil thugs. It's just they do it because there's a need and they need to provide for their family, and this is just a easier way than finding, the very limited employment that's offered in their community.
Right. I mean, that, like, I kind of came across that in my research, in that a lot of poaching isn't specifically to be a part of the poaching syndicate or anything. Like, a lot of it is just, like let's say I kill a bear, right, over a big bear that's protected under law.
Yeah.
Like, technically, that's poaching.
Right.
Like, because it's me killing an animal illegally that is protected under, law. But, I was going to say something. So, poaching, like, globally, is contributing to the extinction of a lot of animals.
I mean, of course.
Right? Specifically tigers, bears, elephants, rhinos. Like, those are the main ones, like the ones that people know about. But there are hundreds of species that, fall under this umbrella of, like, being pushed to the brink of extinction because of all this poaching,
Yeah, and beyond being brought, certain species being brought to the brink of extinction, it just throws off the balance of certain ecosystems if, an animal goes, becomes scarce enough. Like, tigers are, giant predators where they come from, and to remove them from the equation allows their prey to spring up, which, makes booms in other sorts of species in that area, which just completely disrupts the whole ecosystem.
It disrupts the
balance.
Yeah. I came across that when there's apparently, like, several different types of poachers. Like,
Really?
I mean, not like, well, I mean, let me explain. So there are wildlife poachers who, like I said, excuse me, like I said, are the people on the ground of this syndicate who are illegally hunting, fishing, and snaring, and they're usually involved These are people that are usually involved in the large crime syndicates that don't solely focus on poaching.
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are just criminals who do all kinds of crazy, like, fucked up crimes throughout the world. And poaching is just like, yeah, I also do that.
Okay.
Because they're usually already involved in large crime syndicates and they commit other major crimes. But, like, I'm sure there are committed poachers, but a good majority of them are just, criminals who are doing work for people above them.
Yeah.
The next type of poacher, lost my place. Subsistence poachers and farmers are individuals who live in settled communities that are in close proximity to wildlife.
Okay.
And they're just like finding a way to coexist with them. Like, usually they're just people who are hunting to provide for their families and their communities, but like they often hunt protected wildlife or just diminish the populations of certain species, which, like we said, damages the surrounding ecosystem. So, like we said, like, not all poachers are by definition like heartless thugs or anything. Or
No, yeah, and they poach for different reasons. And if I may have something to contribute to that, I looked at a study, or not a study, I guess, a survey of people who had been convicted of poaching in America specifically. And out of 41 poachers that were interviewed in Louisiana, the survey revealed that 37 out of the 41 poached or, hunted illegally to provide food for themselves and their families. And 11 stated that their poaching was part of their personal culture and history, and 9 did it to earn money, and only about 8, felt exhilarated by the thrill. So it's not such a black and white, like, poachers are evil and all this stuff. Like, given that's in America, but it shows that there are
we're gonna start
different...
fighting for poachers' rights.
I don't think I'm going to go that far, but under certain umbrellas, yeah, it's a way of life. It's a way of feeding their families. I'm not going to tell someone not to, shoot a deer or something like that because, it's protected. Again, I'm not for the mass murder of animals, especially when they're endangered, but guys got to do what a guy's got to do.
Yeah, like I said, it was just... I can't speak for, like, what's going on in America, but this was, like, rural areas and parts of, like, Asia and Africa and stuff like that. I was talking specifically.
Oh, just talking broad terms of poaching.
And the third type of poacher out there are commercial poachers. And they're not specialized hunters exactly. Like, they don't hunt, like, I'm an expert tiger hunter or anything, but they kind of, in the same vein, they hunt general wildlife in their region to sell their meats at local markets. So, like, they're kind of contributing to the, black market side of it, but it's also just kind of to feed their families. Like, there's two sides to this story. Like, in some cases. Like, I feel like for the most part, poaching, especially on, like, this large global scale, is definitely, like, pretty terrible and run by, like, these awful people and shit. But a lot of it, and I think a lot of people don't know this, is just people trying to make a living in one of the few ways they know how.
No, yeah, like, looking at this stuff and talking about it reminds me kind of how people see the drug trade, where there are these, big, drug lords all around the world, and then they're, to compare that to the average street dealer that you see. Mm-hmm. It's like there are different levels and different,
Yeah. The crime syndicate, though, that kind of operates the whole black market side of it, is huge. And they distribute and move illegal animals, dead or alive, and animal parts to different buyers all across the world. They bribe business and government officials on all levels. The top syndicates, like the best, for lack of better word, syndicates, the most skilled, the most notorious, they handle the selling and transporting of elephant tusk and rhino horn, because those are the two most lucrative industries to be in.
Right.
Rhino horn goes for a minimum of $60,000 per kilogram. And each rhino horn isn't just 1 kilogram.
Yeah.
Like, a kilogram amounts to, what, like just over 2 pounds, I think? So, yeah, a rhino horn, I imagine, would be worth a few $100,000 at the very least. Maybe even $1 million. I'm sure it breaks $1 million.
I'm sure.
Elephant tusks are, what are they worth? $2,142 per kilogram, which maybe isn't as lucrative as a rhino horn, but it's probably because they're easier to get than rhino horns are.
I guess.
I mean, I don't know. That's one. Like, I'm not claiming that that statement is a fact, but I imagine that there are more elephants than there are rhinos.
I mean, also for every elephant you get 2 tusks rather than 1 horn.
Yeah. See, so there's just more material to work with.
I guess.
A tiger skin. One tiger skin goes for $134,000, and this is all just minimum.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even like, you know, a nice one. I don't know what you would classify as like a more expensive tiger skin, but you know, like that's just a minimum for
What it goes for on the black market.
yeah. And reported wildlife trafficking and seizures of animal parts have increased really dramatically in the past few years. But I think that that's just because the authorities are getting better at it. Like, I don't think that that means that the industry has like sped up or anything. I think it's just we're starting to see a little more of what goes on inside of it. It's the criminal organizations and rebel militias, specifically in Africa, are the main profiteers of this poaching, obviously.
Yeah.
The rebel militias are supplementing income and committing large-scale poaching that is heavily impacting the elephant populations in West and Central Africa. So these rebel militias who are operating without intervention from their governments, I guess.
Yeah.
Not without intervention, but you know, it's a militia. Like, there's only so much that they can control.
Yeah.
And they're committing like mass, like slaughtering basically of these elephants in West and Central Africa. And I mean, as we know, elephants are notoriously poached for their tusks. Ivory has been an indicator and a symbol of wealth for centuries, right? Mm-hmm. And demand from Japan, Europe, and the United States has resulted in hundreds of tons of ivory being shipped out of Africa yearly since at least 1932. And because of that, since the 1930s, the elephant populations have dropped from millions to record lows of between 400 and 750,000.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, it sounds like a lot, but when you hear what it actually should be or what it was.
Yeah. And like, I think we're kind of living in an age where the elephant is probably going to go extinct in our lifetime. And I think that that's really sad and really like crazy doesn't even begin to describe like what I feel about it. Like, we're going to have, like, if we ever have grandchildren, it'll be like, they'll have never seen an elephant or anything like that. And that's crazy to me. Because, you know, elephants are, I don't know, like, they're these awesome creatures you see as a kid. And, like, as a kid, you never think, like, oh, you know, they might not be around someday. Yeah. But then, like, you see what the world really is like, and then all of a sudden, like, yeah, elephants might not be around forever. And, like, that's pretty fucked up, I think.
Yeah.
But anyway, since then, the purchase of selling an ivory has been made illegal on an international level. So, you know, the globe kind of agrees that this is a problem and that elephants need to be protected.
I mean, elephants and any other species on the endangered species list, though that kind of varies from country to country and what they actually protect.
Yeah. But obviously, a lot of nations and world leaders are not doing their part and even contributing to the loss of elephant and I really focus on elephants in this on elephant life, and ivory is still making its way out of Africa.
Yeah, but
today.
there's certain, I mean, mostly symbolic gestures. Like, I, I saw it in my research, but I didn't take it down in my notes. But I think it was I want to say somewhere in China, that they got all the ivory that they could. The government rounded up as much ivory as they could, and they just straight up destroyed it. And as an act of, I guess, protest against, ivory and what, the ivory trade stands for and stuff like that. So, I mean, it definitely, like you said, just like leaps towards wanting to do something about it. But, I mean, what can you really do to stop,
It's kind of
something
like that quote from the Boondocks. Like, what do you do when you? How does it go? What do you do when you can't do nothing, but there's nothing that you can do? You do what you can, and they were just doing what they can.
Yeah, symbolic gesture and all that. It's worth something.
What I think is crazy is a lot of these things, specifically elephant tusks, are kind of just a status symbol for the people who are buying them. And it's like, how? Like, I understand that it's expensive, but a lot of things are expensive. And I think that okay, let's say I'm a guy who wants to purchase elephant tusks.
Okay.
Not even purchase elephant tusks. Let's say I just want elephant tusks.
Okay.
Wouldn't I want the quote-unquote satisfaction of knowing that I killed that animal?
Do you want to go through that effort?
But I'm saying, like, that's where I get disconnected. Like, what does it do for your ego if all you did was buy this?
Because you have the ability to, you have, the vast wealth to get something that extravagant. Like, you don't go mining for diamonds, but you'll buy a whole bunch of diamonds if you have the money for it and you're that kind of person. Like,
I guess that's true, but it's different because they're animals.
It's
like,
not. It's more cruel because they're animals and they're poaching and they're on the brink of extinction. But it's the same thing. It's just a way of showing how extravagant and how rich you are. You want ivory, so you get ivory.
I mean, sure, but do you understand where I'm coming from? Where it's like,
morally, yes, but like where you say like, well, if I was a rich man and I wanted ivory, and then I would want to kill the elephant. I don't think that's, I don't know, a place that a lot of people will be coming from.
Yeah, I guess not. I don't know. I just think that it's stupid.
I mean, it's definitely fucked up. Not arguing that point, but.
So what? Enough about elephants. Rhino horns. Rhino horns. I was especially like frustrated with the reasoning behind rhino horns because rhino horns have been used in Chinese medicine for thousands of years, and many countries still believe and practice these remedies. So rhino horns have just been used as this bullshit remedy that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Like in different parts of the world. And it's dumb. Like it's killing for a purpose that doesn't work, that isn't valid.
Right. I mean, I got the same sort of frustration out of tiger bones, and same thing. Chinese, medicine says it has healing properties and promotes vigor and vitality, and it said that it had healing properties, and the properties that it said it has was like calcium. Like you can't get calcium anywhere else. It was just the fact that tiger, the tiger is a symbol of strength and prowess and all this stuff. So crushing its bones and ingesting it will make you stronger. It's like,
that would probably fuck up your digestive system, to be honest.
I mean, you crush it up and stuff. It's insane that still goes on today, and that's still a reason why people, poach tigers and get tiger bone for the sake of medicine. Like, as fucked up as it is, I could understand, like, oh, I want a tiger pelt. But for someone to say, kill that tiger, we need its healing properties.
Yeah. I also read that they use it as I'm blanking on the word. They use it as like a Viagra type thing. Where
Aphrodisiac?
Yeah, okay, that's the word I was trying to think of. They think that if they ingest crushed tiger penis, that they'll have this amazing, crazy sex drive that'll make them like amazing in bed. And it's like none of this is based in science. They're just like they're just saying like, yeah, obviously.
I mean, you'll try anything though.
What?
Some people will try anything.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess if they're desperate enough, some billionaire is out there purchasing tiger Viagra. No, but getting back to the rhino horn part of it, they've also been used to symbolize power, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of rhino horns are used to make daggers and just ornaments and a lot of decorative pieces, right?
Yeah.
And they've been given as gifts to like Chinese emperors over the centuries, but it's still given like today as like a super underground luxurious gift,
Right.
What I thought was it's funny. I can't say like interesting and like sound excited about it because it's such a fucked up like topic.
I mean,
but I did find it really interesting that most of the horns from the rhinos that were being used in Chinese culture were from Africa as opposed to the Asian rhinos, because the Asian rhinos had smaller horns and there was just a smaller population of Asian rhinos, so they were harder to find. So the African rhino was supplying the Chinese markets for like centuries. So the last thing that I kind of have and that I want to touch on is throughout the world, large-scale captive breeding programs have been like started and founded as an attempt to aid in rebuilding the population of species targeted by poachers. But the sad reality is that the damage being done far outweighs the attempts to repair it.
Yeah.
Like, we're very quickly diminishing a lot of species out there, and it's a lot easier to wipe something out than it is to rebuild as a species.
Of course.
Yeah. And yeah, this was like, it was interesting and all this stuff and very informative. Pretty fucked up topic.
Yeah, like, it was a depressing topic to research.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just some of the stuff that you didn't really touch upon that I looked up was anti-poaching techniques that, people are implementing. And it was disheartening to say that not a lot of stuff works. I mean,
I know that they were dyeing the elephant tusks pink.
that doesn't work.
Why not? Doesn't it ruin the ivory? Or go on.
No. So, dyeing rhino horns and elephant tusks don't really work.
Just to clarify, these people and organizations have been coloring the tusks of elephants and rhinos in an attempt to deter poachers from killing them, because supposedly the ivory and horns are what it is. Is rhino horn ivory?
I don't know.
Okay, well, it makes the material that they're after worthless, supposedly.
Supposedly. From what I saw, and again, there could be, maybe I didn't look up the right kind of dye that they used, or they're doing something else, but from what I saw, for one, the dye is temporary.
What?
So,
like, how long does it last?
I mean, a month, a year, temporary. And you got to go out there and find every single, white tusk or, white horned rhino again on a yearly basis. Mm-hmm. It's just impractical to do something like that. And even if, while it is dyed, it makes camouflage harder. So that predators, will be able to find it, and poachers will be able to find it easier.
That's a good point. I haven't thought of that.
And any residual dye that isn't completely, taken off can be sanded off. It doesn't dye it from,
the core.
Yeah. It's just the first couple layers that can be sanded off. And it says that the dye can be detectable at airport scanners, but to date, no scanners have picked up any, tainted ivory. So that doesn't work. And what some American game wardens are doing, they set up robotic decoys that mimic animal movement in highly visible areas to lure out poachers and to arrest them after the decoys are shot. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, that's not something that could be implemented widespread, especially in places like Africa and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The only thing that really works is boots on the ground and, surveillance. I mean, they use a whole bunch of drones to survey, thousands upon thousands of miles of, you know, landscape where animals are and, to see poaching patterns and where they are and to just confront them. But that's the only thing that really works. There's no trick to it. It's just people putting the time and making the effort to go against poaching, on not throwing money into this research. And maybe there are, I shouldn't discount that because, maybe someone will come up with the perfect way of, getting rid of all poaching. But right now, people on the ground willing to put their lives on the line because the poachers are definitely willing to, do whatever they can.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure.
So to have an all-out war with poaching is the only way to really keep it at bay.
I mean, to be completely honest here, I don't think that poaching is ever going to reach a point where it's going to be fully under control. Where, I don't think we're ever going to extinguish the poaching industry. Or
one could hope.
One could hope.
And then I already talked about reasons people poach. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I did this whole other research where why people poach, but it kind of just devolved into
money.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, that's the motivator for it.
Yeah.
What, again, just insane amounts of money.
That, and I tried, as weird as it sounds, I tried to find justification for poaching. And, I found some where, people poach to hunt and stuff like that. And, I thought of people in colder climates who hunt for blubber and stuff like that. And blubber and oil. And oil's fairly, easy to come by in the modern world. Even if it is, way out in the north and stuff like that. Things are imported, exported all over the place. Mm-hmm. So you don't exactly need to hunt them for heat.
Right.
And as for blubber, find a delicacy or whatever, blubber is poisonous nowadays.
What do you mean?
That through some sort of evolution, that blubber has now become poisonous because most animals who have blubber in their systems, like whales and things like that, are on top of the food chain. And something about...
So you're telling me that whales are evolving to withstand being hunted?
No.
Or not withstand being hunted, but their blubber becomes worthless?
I forgot the exact word, but something where over evolution, let's say grass has a very, has a low concentration of something.
Right.
And a chipmunk eats grass.
Right.
The chipmunk will have a higher concentration because it eats all that grass.
Mm-hmm.
And, the wolf eats that, the whatever eats the wolf, and we eat that. We're going to have a higher concentration, we're going to have more poisonous substance in us than the grass. Just because we're higher up on the food chain.
Oh, so we're just intaking a more diverse...
Yeah.
Source of energy, I guess.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
So, that, and... Yeah, I interjected with kind of the stuff I had throughout yours, so, anti-poaching was the only other thing that I contributed, I guess, but, yeah. Oh, and poaching also could bring up diseases like Ebola from eating chimp meat, SARS from raccoon dogs and ferret badgers in China, just, poaching's bad.
Yeah, I think that's the general...
If you take one thing away from this.
Poaching is not... very ethical at all. I gotta say I'm a little disappointed because I really thought that you were telling me that whales and animals like that were evolving to withstand that kind of thing, and I was just thinking it's just a matter of time then. Soon elephants are just gonna be born with guns on their tusks.
Evolution is slow work, even if they are.
Yeah, I know.
Well, as they evolve over millions of years, now we're useless to you, you can't hurt us. We will evolve far beyond that and have much more efficient ways of killing them.
And to be completely honest, we'll probably just kill you anyways.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of it.
Alright, so that was the story on poaching.
Bleak as it was. But,
alright.
Yeah, I hope you listeners out there found it interesting.
Got something out of it, at least.
yeah, try to not be so depressed from here on out. But thank you for tuning in for What's the Story. I'm Mark.
I'm Michael.
Have a good one.